start shit if you ain't ready to get hit.
Well, allow me to drop some knowledge.
We have to disagree. I saw the Sailor Moon outfit.
What's really good, my BMF army? It's your favorite Jedi, BMF goddess. I hope you guys are all doing well and BMF and raising hell. You already know the deal. Tonight I have the pleasure of introducing to the BMF stage pro wrestler Dr. Sleep, Anthony Gango. Welcome, Dr. Sleep.
Thank you for having me. How's everything?
Appreciate you making time for us. I know you're super busy.
Oh, thank you
How
for
are
having
you
me.
doing?
I'm good. Just I am busy, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, everything's good on my end.
So I'm gonna start at the beginning.
Mm.
How did Dr. Sleep become a fan of this great sport we call pro wrestling?
Mine's a typical story, just like a lot of people that are in wrestling or are fans of it. I watched it since I was probably 4 or 5 years old. Never grew out of it. And I've been a fan ever since. Never stopped. Never took a break from it in any way, even as a fan. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing really that special about my story when it comes to wrestling. It was just something I connected to um, when I was a child, and kind of went from there.
Okay. Who were some of your early inspirations?
Well, as a child, believe it or not, it was the Ultimate Warrior, and I think the reason for that was, he looked like a He-Man character, and with the colors and all that. I also really loved Bret Hart and The Undertaker, so those were kind of the early inspirations as far as when I was a kid, who I looked up to, who I enjoyed. I was more of a WWE person than a WCW person, but I watched WCW as well. You know, guys like Sting. Um, then at some point, ECW got on regular TV, TNN, I believe, and also watched that as well. So I was, even as a kid and with no internet, I was really watching all the wrestling I could.
When was that moment that you were like, this is what I want to do?
I don't have a specific moment. I think at some point as a kid, I was just like, this is what I want to do. I think I could do this. And, when people would come over, all I wanted to do is put them in like submission holds and stuff like that. So, uh, so that was kind of the deal on that.
So when did you start training officially and under who?
I started training at House of Glory late 2011, but it was more towards 2012. So, and my debut was 2012, and I was there for 8 years, and yeah, that's kind of where it started. And I was probably for the first like 6 years, probably there like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times a week. So it was pretty nonstop at that time.
Dedication.
Mm.
What do you feel separates you from other competitors?
I think nowadays it's kind of a more complete wrestler. Um, I think what I bring to the table, what I do as far as value for a show or a company, is that yes, I can go in there and have a match that people can remember, but I also have a persona that I think is very much maybe not. It's kind of out of the norm, a little bit more interesting than maybe what most people would put as far as what a professional wrestler is. And I think a lot of that comes to kind of the mental game I have with experience and everything else with wrestling. I feel like I became maybe like a late bloomer when it comes to kind of understanding what to do in the ring and being more of a persona than just a regular good hand wrestler. Which some that's fine too to be that way. But I think for me, I think it for me to stand out the best way I can is to have the persona and to produce in the ring whatever the promoter or promotion needs out of me. And I think that's the value I bring. There's a lot of ins and outs about wrestling as far as timing and everything else. And I think at this point, whatever is needed, I always hit a home run from my aspect for the promotion, promoter, company, whatever it is.
I have to say, personally, I enjoy watching the evolution of you wrestlers. And over the years, I've seen you evolve, and I love where you're at now.
Thank
And
you.
I think that you're doing awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very, very different. I think people that haven't seen me in a
Yes.
bit maybe have a certain perception of me. And every time I go out there, I kind of want to break that perception. It's like, oh, this person's doing something a lot different than what I know them for.
Right. Absolutely. What's the best what's the best advice you think you've been given, like during your training days, that you could pass on?
You know what? I would say actually it wouldn't come from training. It would be actually I did a seminar with Glacier, who was a WCW most known for WCW, and from that I was able to become friends with him, and he's been a very good mentor to me since that time. And kind of like you can't wait in wrestling for someone to come grab you. You kind of have to go out there and do it yourself and put yourself out there the most you can. And I think not kicking the can down the road is probably the best advice I got. It's going out there and whatever you want, try to make it happen. And unfortunately, with wrestling, it's not so much about, in sports, there's a lot of scouting and they have scouts and things of that nature. In wrestling, it's really not like that. Even if you're the best shortstop, you may not get a wrestling contract or a look or anything like that. Your job as a performer is try to be in front of the best eyes possible and try to make people in positions of power realize your value and what you can bring to the table that is different from everybody else.
I'm feeling that. That is a unique perspective, and it's really important. What does an ideal opponent look for you? Explain, like, your match. Is your match as good as your chemistry or no?
Um, in what sense?
Like, let's say that you never wrestled this person before.
Mhm,
You guys are not familiar with each other.
mhm.
How do you bring that story in the ring?
I think for me the best way to go about wrestling is for all parties to be humble when calling the match and realizing what is the best case scenario for the match. And in my estimation, that would be, okay, what do you do? What is your persona? Okay, this is what I do. how would we interact with one another? That makes sense. If and I'll just use me as an example. If there's a guy that's 7 foot tall and 300 pounds, that probably doesn't make sense for me to throw him around. But in my experience, people kind of maybe sometimes have a certain perception of what I used to do and don't realize that it's not really what I do now, and that I'm not willing to, on an independent level in a match, to sacrifice this persona for you to just kind of do whatever. And I wouldn't expect anyone to do the same for me. But I think the way to do that is to compromise. And a lot of wrestling is compromise because it's a collaboration. And I really find that most of my first time matches with someone end up being pretty decent. And once you kind of gain that trust with that person, at least from one match, the next one gets even better, and all that. So I think like the best thing for someone once they face someone for the first time is to see how the personas would interact and kind of have it based in somewhat reality.
Totally makes sense. What if that opponent is like, hey, there's a small crowd tonight. Let's just do some little bullshit and be done. How would you approach that?
Well, for me, I think anyone that's paying to see you deserves some kind of entertainment. And I understand that philosophy, and I think you do have to have some sort of limit on what exactly you do. But I don't think that means that you have to be quote unquote lazy about it. I think there's a smart way to do things that leaves the crowd entertained and maybe puts your body at a minimal situation of injury. But the thing is that, you could get injured in front of one person or thousands of people. So, everything we do from what is seen as minor, let's say like a body slam, most basic kind of maneuver, to, something off the top rope, everything is dangerous. So as far as like someone's mentality, I know what I bring to the table, and I'm going to work as hard as I can, as smart as I can, because I also see every match as an opportunity to prove myself and a rep. And the only way you get better at wrestling is continue your reps. So, that's kind of the way that I look at it. And yeah, I rarely have come through that experience. And I would say 9.5 out of 10, we come up with something that is interesting for the crowd, that's maybe not so taxing, and maybe not, maybe doing something on the concrete floor compared to the ring. Kind of be smart about it, but be entertaining.
So where is Dr. Sleep from?
Downstairs.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
So godlike. I love it. Okay, I asked everybody this because I'm just curious. If you did get the call from a mainstream company, who would you want it to be and why?
Honestly, I mean, you're gonna say this is a cop out. It's not a cop out. I just think that any company that's willing to have me on board, I would be very open to. I think it's an experience that I have yet to fully have. I've had a cup of coffee in some major places before, but it's something that, as a more full-time or per appearance kind of thing, would be an experience that I think is needed for my continued growth in wrestling. So I know it's a cop out, but really there's really value in every promotion that I've seen and that's out there. Some things are better in other places. Some things other places do better than than the promotion next to them. And for me, I don't think this kind of picking and choosing thing is. It's all exposure, and it's all valuable.
That's true though. What is your absolute favorite part about being a wrestler?
My favorite part is just going out there. Believe it or not, it's kind of like I have a very good life, uh, but I think going out there is kind of at the most calm I am. I think, believe it or not, it just feels right. There's been situations where I've been very like, maybe nervous, but once I'm out there, it's like there's nothing to be nervous about, and it kind of feels like home, you know. And sometimes it's rough to leave that space and not be able to do it for whatever 24 hours or a week or whatever the case is.
Right. Okay. All right. What has been your favorite match or happening so far in your career?
I think it's fair to say, I had 3 no ropes matches that were very enjoyable, and I think were as close as reaching my potential as possible. I think wrestling, I got the chance to wrestle Cody Rhodes, and that was an opportunity that I felt that I rose up to, and was a very positive experience in all accounts. And then, I wrestled Darius Carter actually at BCW maybe a year and a half ago, and it kind of just told me like, all right, I'm at the place that I want to be as far as a wrestler.
Yeah.
So I had one recently with Griffin McCoy that I think was a statement as far as my time at CZW. That I think a lot of people kind of, because I've been around for so long, kind of maybe don't fully see my value, and that's fine because that drives me. And I feel like I'm a better wrestler now than I've ever been, and that's not just me saying that. I just feel I'm more complete, and my matches are better for it.
I've heard that, you can wrestle for years and years and years, but you'll know like when you become the form that you really feel comfortable in. And
Yep.
I know exactly what you mean about still having people out there doubting, but I see you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
that's why I wanted this interview, and I really appreciate you. Um, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate
Keep
the
proving
words.
them wrong. um, what is something that you have struggled with within the business and or have overcame?
There's a lot of personality clashes, I guess, in wrestling, and I think that's something that in the past maybe was harder to deal with, because when I joined wrestling, I think I was kind of under the impression that everyone would just try their best kind of thing and be the best wrestler they could. And it's not necessarily like that, and it's not necessarily a negative thing, because it's something that everyone deals with in everyday life or at work or whatever the case is. You have a lot of people together. There's going to be personality clashes, but I think nowadays I've really found the value in all people, even if they are maybe not my cup of tea per se. But there is value in someone else's negativity, I think, and you kind of either learn from that or kind of understand that that's not what you want to be. So
I love that. That's really good advice in life, period.
mhm.
For real. All right. So if you had to stop in-ring wrestling today, what would you be doing tomorrow?
Probably, probably take a nice vacation. Yeah, I think since joining wrestling, I've only taken one vacation. So uh, I've only missed 5 weeks of wrestling because of injury my entire career, and it's pretty much been on the road or been wrestling every weekend or multiple times a weekend or sometimes during the week as well for years at this point. And I probably would do that. And as far as what else I would be, I don't know. I think I
You
would
feel
have
like
in
you
some
would
life
still
form.
be involved?
Yeah, well, yeah, I could be. I could be. Some people enjoy my mind for wrestling, so I could be. Um, I think maybe in another lifetime I would be a lawyer. So
uh, how many times would you say, or how much would you say as a wrestler you should be, training to stay in ring shape?
um, I think it depends on the experience level. Um, I would say probably when you're first starting out, I would say it's probably as much as you can during the week. So whatever that is, maybe 4 times a week. I think as you get older, more seasoned, I think in ring training would probably be like 2 to 3 times, depending on what your body's telling you, because there is such a thing as a bump guard. As far as everything else, either weight training or cardio or anything like that, it's probably at least you probably have to do it at least 5 times a week. But again, as far as in ring, it all depends on the person and what your schedule is. If you're wrestling like 2 times a weekend, probably twice a week is probably smart for your body if you're more established. But then again, it might depend on your goals. Like, if let's say your goal was like WWE, you're probably going to be in the ring 5, 6 times a week, just training or a show or something like that. So, if you want your body to get ready for something like that, you probably would be better off that way. So it really depends.
Okay, understood. When you do finally ride off into the sunset, what would you like to be remembered for?
That I helped out in some way to
I respect it. So, where, if any, can we get some Dr. Sleep merch?
in the United States, and that's prowrestlingtees.com/Anthony Gangone Pro. So that's where I prefer to see you in person and kind of have a real interaction with you. And but if you're not anywhere I'm going to be, I would say ProWrestlingTees.com would be the best place.
We need some of those masks.
Oh, yeah. Well, the mask is very special to me, so I don't know about that.
Well, I don't have no more questions for you. I just wanted to go through the essentials, and I feel like I know you a little bit more, and I appreciate you. Definitely want my audience to follow Anthony. I'm gonna add his information here. Support independent wrestling. Thanks again for being here. Maybe you could come back in the future.
Well, no, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, and I hope it was okay.
Awesome. You guys already know, subscribe to BMF Goddess on YouTube. May the force be with you. Good night. Anthony, thanks. I do it 1, 2, 3, like, just want my audience to get to know you guys. So
I appreciate it.
Thanks again. Talk to you soon. When it comes out, you already know I'm gonna tag you. Bye-bye.
All right. Sounds good. Take care.